All right, good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Good morning.
Thank you all for being here for this session where we're talking about how things are moving forward at Holy Cross. We're going to start out with a recap of our 2023 finances and sort of our current financial posture from Stuart. And then Claire is going to speak a bit more about sort of visions for where things are going in 24. And then Calamar, who is another member of our vestry and on the stewardship committee, is going to speak a bit to that and the stewardship campaign. So I'm mostly not speaking. I'm just here to pray at the beginning of the meeting. So the Lord be with you. Almighty God, whose loving hand has given us all that we possess, grant us grace that we may honor you with our substance and, remembering the account which we must one day give, be faithful stewards of your bounty. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
And that is a prayer from the Book of Common Prayer for the right use of God's gifts, which I always think is a good prayer for a conversation about finances. So with that said, Stuart, take it away. You want to just go up to press there, and then you can press slideshow.
All right, good morning.
I'm going to share it so people on Zoom can also see it. Sorry. Trying to manage the tech. There we go. Screen share that thing. Do. Great. Thanks.
Do you think we could see it any better if one of the overheads was off? Yeah, I can't see really anything there.
Dim the lights.
See what we can do there. Okay.
Could be the theater effect.
It doesn't make much difference, but oh well. Whoa, a little dark. I can see the years.
Well, we can make sure
Right,
that
well,
this slide deck is available
yeah.
for folks. We'll send it out in email form so that folks can look more closely at the slide deck.
Right.
All right, then I'm going to turn like that.
Okay. Yeah. We're not going to go through all the numbers on these slides. Actually, there's just a few of them on any given slide that I want to show you. So let me start out. Kelly said I'm going to talk about where we are right now. It's trick or treat season. I don't have any tricks, but there is a treat in this. Let's start out with talking about pledges, and this shows our pledge history from 2017 to today. And I've got the average pledge column bold-faced, and you probably still can't see it because it's small, but if you look at the number of pledges back in 2017, we had 115 pledges. Right now we're at 92. There was a big drop off during the pandemic when it first hit, and we are on the way back up. And yet, if you look at the pledge numbers, the budgeted pledge totals, they've managed to, even though we're only at 92 pledges this year, and we had 115 back in 2017, the budgeted pledge total back in 2017 was about 345,000, and now it's 392,000 with fewer pledges. And that's because, and that's the bold-faced row there, our average pledge has gone up from about $3,100 to almost $4,300. So even though we lost a bunch of pledges during the pandemic and started to go back up, but our our income from pledges has gone up over the years because our average pledge has increased about 33% over the last 5-6 years, which has been a very good trend and one that we hope will continue. So, moving to the next slide. Even smaller numbers, sorry. So this is this is through the first 9 months of this year, revenues. And what you can see here is that pledge payments, we are actually at about a little over 75%, 3/4 of the year. In terms of the money that we've brought in, we're at a little over 301,000. And plate offerings is the one that I really want to call attention to because that has been a very good, surprising from my perspective anyway, surprisingly good budget item for us over the years, and especially the last few years. It's been going up, and we had budgeted, for the year, $15,000. We're expecting to hit about 20,000 this year. And that $15,000 is the number that's been going up for years. We have done really well with plate offerings over the last few years, and especially this year, we're expecting to be about 5,000 above where we had budgeted, and we had budgeted $15,000. So we've gotten a little bit from special offerings, abundance pledge payments. The rental income, of course, is part of what keeps us going. But you can see that we had budgeted about $502,000 in total operating revenues. We're expecting to be about 6,000 above that for the year when the year ends. So good news there. This is something that Sonia Martin put together for us. These are things that aren't included in the budget that the vestry approves, but this is kind of off budget. It's money that the parishioners give to support various projects. So it's in-kind donations and off budget. And you can see the things that we're doing, food and household supplies to CHO, toiletries to the Lamb Center, sandwiches, collections for Ukraine, meal baskets, the CHO Christmas store, comfort cases, Christmas presents for Fairfax County, the Porridge Project, Tanzania. And it adds up over the last year to about $40,000 that we parishioners have been giving either through contributions to various projects or in-kind donations that we're making. So I'll put that in there just so you can see kind of what we're doing off budget, and I think that's pretty impressive. Small numbers again, but it's actually a good story. Operating expenses through the first 9 months. And you can see that we had budgeted to spend about $490, almost $500,000, and instead we're expecting to come in at about $465, which is about $35,000 below. So where does that come from? It's a large part of it is that our personnel costs, we expected to spend about $278,000. It's going to be about $25,000 below that. And that's largely due to a delay in hiring our associate rector and hiring our admin person. So that's about $25,000 in savings right there, just because we delayed hiring. There's also been less money. We had expected to pay about $5,000 this year for an outside audit. We've decided to delay that, so we did it in-house again with Becky Stahl, who is a CPA. She did it for us last year. She's done it in the past, so that's another $5,000 that we put aside. So all in all, we're going to come in, we think, more than $30,000 underneath what we had budgeted. And so, long story short, the budget that the vestry approved much earlier this year showed us coming in somewhere between $4,000 and $5,000 to the plus side. It's actually going to be a little north of about $40,000. I think somewhere around $42,000. That's the treat. I promised you. So for this year, assuming that everything goes as it has been going for the first 9 months, we are looking at a very, very good year financially, about $40,000 to the black. And that's very good news, especially given that. No, it's not. Oh, that's it. Cool. There we go. All right. Facility projects. They've been busy beavers this past 12, 18 months. If you're not aware, we have replaced, I think we've finished all of them, right? The HVAC units for downstairs for the classrooms, for the Montessori school, those have all been replaced. We have a project going on. We still owe some money, $30-some thousand that still remain to be paid. We commissioned an engineering report on the canopy that has been, of course, cleaning over the years. So we commissioned a report. Still owe a little bit of money for that, about $2,500, and then there's a remaining, I think, $12,000 to pay for that project to get the canopy righted again and in line with what the county wants. And we've had an assessment, a report done by an HVAC firm, engineering firm. This has been an ongoing concern of ours, and we've been putting some money into it. But the HVAC unit for the nave, that's still the original one, and it is on borrowed time. So there were, was it 4 or 5 options, John? Presented 4 options that were presented by this firm. The facilities committee recommended earlier this week to the vestry one of the options. The vestry approved it. So long story short, that's going to play out over the next year to 2 years, is replacing that big unit on top of the roof there that heats and cools the nave. And we're not going to do a like for like. John can tell you more about it, but it's not a like for like swap. We're upgrading to a much nicer system. It's going to cost some money. It's going to take some time, but we have money set aside, the tune of about $285,000. I think that budget, I think the option that you all chose was 180, but we're expecting probably it will run more than that. But we have about 285 that we've got set aside. That includes, we've been putting about 45,000 aside each year for facilities. So that 285 figure includes, I think, the 45 that we had set aside for next year. But if we come in as we expect, a little over 40,000 to the positive this year, that's more money that will be available. So if there is an overrun over that 180,000, that will be protected that way. Also, the finance committee proposed earlier this year, and the vestry approved, that we would keep at least $60,000 in investments set aside, that we would not go into. So we didn't want to spend everything on, so we agreed that we would put 60,000 aside. So even with that money set aside, we've got $285,000 that we're looking at, plus anything positive from this year, which will be 40,000 or more, we expect. So that's where we are in a nutshell right now. Any questions? Okay. Cool. Claire?
Yeah, it's a little hard to ask questions when we can't read any of the numbers. So I don't know, we reserve a time to come back.
Sure.
After we get it.
So I have some, if people want to just kind of pass, I just printed this out this morning, so I mean.
Oh, you know what, I could go make photocopies of that and bring it back, and then people can have some.
Double-sided. Okay. Thank you, Stuart. Hello, everyone. I'm Claire Beam. Most of you, I think, know me, but I forgot my name tag. I thought it was in my car. It wasn't there, so I'm sorry. I am whoever you want me to be this morning. So raise your hand if you are so excited that we might not talk about HVAC at this meeting next year. This has been a long time coming, right? Like, I cannot believe it. Many thanks to John Hughes, Tom Lawrence, Mitch Gibbons, and John Hoskins, and everybody on the committee who has done so much work to get us to this point where we actually might get not even might, we are going to get a new HVAC system this year. Also raise your hand if you're excited to think that we won't have to have a capital campaign to raise money for this. Yay! Okay. So you'll hear from Calamar in a minute about our pledge goal and and that kind of stuff. But we decided that because we were so close to getting to the number that we need for the HVAC project, we probably don't need to do a full-on capital campaign, that we can fold in some of the costs into our goal for pledging this year. And I want to talk to you before I turn it over to Calamar about 2 things. One is our budget for 2024 and some of the things that we're dreaming and hoping about, and also just sort of like how we're kind of categorizing. Ooh,
I'm just turning off the screen share.
Oh yeah,
For people at home.
hi people at home. Okay, so we, the Holy Cross budget continues to evolve. We're trying to be more and more transparent about what we spend money on and kind of try to clean it up and everything. So now the budget is kind of divided into, is it 4 categories? It's personnel, it's administration, and then it's kind of all of our programming, which we're looking through the lens of IWC. And Calamar talked about that a little bit more. Personnel includes, salaries, benefits, all that kinds of thing. The admin is stuff like all of our facilities work, our mortgage payment, our diocesan pledge. For those of you who do not know, because I did not when I first started coming to this church, we actually pay the diocese. It's not the other way around. And then sort of the programming or Invite, Welcome, Connect category is just all the things about kind of how we do church. I'll let Calamar talk about that. The 2024 budget. So as Stuart said, and I'm not missing anything, right, Stuart? I got it. Yeah. As Stuart was saying, in for this year, we're expecting about $392,000 in pledges. The budget for next year is asking for $430,000 in pledges, and this would include kind of a couple major changes. One would be to increase the associate rector position to a 30 hours a week position with health insurance. And then the other thing is kind of making up the balance of any, HVAC projects or facilities projects, and not doing the capital campaign, like I said, kind of in the beginning of my talk. So I think that's all I wanted to say before I turn it over to Calamar. But does anybody have any questions about what I just said? Yes, Ron.
In the case of the IWC and the new budget for 2024, the Invite, Welcome, Connect. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, Calamar.
Who doesn't know what IWC
I'm gonna talk
is? About the
Yes, I will mention that.
reapportionment.
The renaming of the budget lines.
Yeah.
Yeah. Calamar does a beautiful job of explaining Invite, Welcome, Connect. All right. Thanks.
I'm up.
I guess you're up.
All right. I can still talk. I've been coughing for 10 days or so. All right, I'm not gonna stand behind a thing like that. Do I have to? No. Okay, great. Hey, everybody. I don't know if I know all of you. My name is Calamar Maya. I've been here going on 2 years. When did we? Yeah. Something like that. But in those 2 years, it's been very much an experience. My daughter, Juliana, was our first baptism here after the pandemic, or towards the end of the pandemic. My father is memorialized in our memorial garden here. So in 2 years, I've gotten to become really a member, I think, of the community. So I'm very thankful for Holy Cross and for being invited to the vestry as well. So I've learned a lot about Holy Cross having joined the vestry now. And I'm going to talk about a couple things. I have a couple of notes here. The first one is, what is IWC? What is Invite, Welcome, Connect? And we've been talking about it for a little over a year. And I think initially we kind of took off and said, hot diggity, let's make new committees. Let's make an Invite committee, a Welcome committee, and all these committees. And I was just talking to Kelly about this. I had forgotten about this statistic around an inverse correlation between having lots of committees and having thriving ministries, right? Because we're so focused on the machine that we're missing out on the whole thing. And really, IWC is about just churching well. It's really meant to be a flywheel, if you will. And we already have plenty of committees and groups here that we need. We just need to help use a framework to help all of them thrive. And so an example of that, what do I mean by a flywheel? What is Invite, Welcome, Connect as this flywheel idea? You don't need to have a group that does invite, a group that does welcome, a group that connects people. For example, Children's Chapel, which I'm involved with, I have invited people to come to church because, hey, we have a children's chapel where your children can be while you're at church, which is a way to invite people. It's very welcoming once you get here that there is a children's chapel for your children to be in while you're here. And so having a thriving children's chapel really helps. It's kind of like the McDonald's kids meal. You get the parents to eat there too, right? So the kids are happy, the parents are there, everybody's happy. It works really well. Ask the McDonald's people. And then the connect part is about bringing our congregation in to help with that, right? It's connecting the people inside of our community. So I think all of our committees and all of our groups really are invite, welcome, and connect. And yes, you can make the case that, all right, working on the signage is really invite, but the people working on the signage are in our community and we're connecting as a community and making those signs, right? So they're all part of invite, welcome, and connect. And that's why we don't need to have a committee for each of those things. We have groups and committees and ministries, and all we want to do with invite, welcome, connect is use it as, I've heard many terms used already here, as a prism, as a framework, as a philosophy for us to just church better. And they provide a number of tools for us to use to help our groups learn and internalize these ideas and just sort of see church in that way. And I think it'll be great. So that's sort of invite, welcome, and connect. And to that point, what we've done in our budget recently is we have an umbrella category, which is invite, welcome, and connect. And I actually posted the question and we were able to, and it was, I think it was an interesting question of, well, what isn't invite, welcome, and connect? Well, we know what, after having that conversation, we said things like, well, you know, paying for HVAC isn't really invite, welcome, and connect, right? That's like a facilities thing of paying for electricity or paying for the thing. Okay, but pretty much all the other things we do at church of our youth groups or learning or classes we have at night, any kind of thing we're doing is just invite, welcome, and connect. And that's why our budget now says invite, welcome, and connect. It's not meant to be its own separate thing. Any questions about that or any thoughts, concerns? Happy to keep talking about it. And we have some things coming in the future where we will be working with the committees to kind of help internalize these ideas more, because the material we have says it way better than I do. So we're gonna they're authors, they wrote things. Yeah. So or yes.
The only thing I would challenge a
Yes.
little bit is the concept that the HVAC doesn't connect. Because, you know, there is that thing about how we have a welcoming space, right? If it's 100.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
I lean on the side of, you know, everything we do here should map to a ministry, including the facilities. Because people don't say, oh, I'm gonna come to church and I really wanna give money.
When I said facilities, I meant the actual materials. I apologize. Of like, there's budget line items that are immaterial, sort of. Like, it's not really, but I see your point. And that was the question I had raised. I said, what isn't invite, welcome, connect, right? But it might be electricity or paper or something like that. Might not be, but
No,
I'm with you.
It all is.
Yeah, right. Fair enough. That was what I had said as well. Yeah.
And so part of what happened as we were looking towards this budgeting process was we did have kind of everything in IWC, and the vestry said, okay, but we do feel like there's some things that we need to make sure that we're tracking really clearly from year to year.
Yeah.
And so
Rents from downstairs.
that kind of thing, paying the mortgage, which again is IWC, right? Having a facility that we're able to welcome people to and maintaining it, right? But it felt like sort of taking that on the budget line and putting that in kind of an admin and facilities bucket instead of in an item, just sort of helps us track the story in a different way.
I would say also, I mean, you can almost like, IWC in this budget way is kind of synonymous with programming a little bit more.
Yeah. To your point, what we were looking at doing is taking our budget software and actually cross-tagging items all with IWC as well, you know, so that we can kind of see where we're.
I mean, I get where the vestry, when they wanna look at the financials, they wanna break down, okay, what are the buckets it's going to? But I think from a stewardship perspective, people give to change lives, and people don't give to an HVAC system,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
And so, to me, going to the congregation, mapping to IWC or whatever buckets from a pastoral care or community we want to do is actually really important. So
Yeah,
I would encourage the vestry or the stewardship as we go out to the congregation to keep those buckets.
Yeah. Personally, I don't even want to with the congregation at large, because we always have new people. I don't want to use the term IWC because it just abstracts things and people go, what's that? I don't know what that is. You know, a year ago, I didn't know what the vestry was. So, I mean, here it's kind of like a funny thing, right? They go, who are the wardens? I'm like, warden? What is that? Honestly, so these words separate you from sometimes what we're trying to do even, right? So I was thinking, we don't even need to mention, I love the idea of IWC, but at the same time, I don't even want to necessarily say it when it's in the in the program on the weekends and things like that. It's not needed. It's really that philosophy. You don't need to say the name of the philosophy all the time. So, but I agree with your point. Thank you for
Yeah,
that.
well, then I would say map it to whatever outreach,
Beautiful.
education, but those are the buckets. that
Yeah.
people will give to.
Agreed. So now I'm going to talk about less fun stuff, but just as important. I'm going to sound like public radio. If any of you listen to public radio, it's where we're going to be right now. So the vestry has already pre-pledged. And our goal this year, what we thought would make sense is we're asking for an increase of 10% in pledges this year, which takes us to a goal of $430,000. And the vestry has already pre-pledged, as well as 3 more people,
Correct.
3 more households. Yeah, 3 more households, and we're already at $85,000 pre-pledged, which is great. It's certainly not all, like, we have plenty to go. And I'll remind everyone here in this room is familiar with this, but the pledge campaign and pledging is our #1 source of income. This message is probably more for the whole congregation, because that's also another thing that I don't think clicks for everyone, that we are the maintainers of our own church and our community and our congregation. So it's important that we look inside ourselves, read the wonderful letters that were sent by Kelly and Claire. I think they were really well framed, and see where you are as far as pledging and can help with that. And it's easy to pledge now. We have several ways to do it. I used On Realm. If you're not familiar with On Realm, because not everybody is, it's a website that gives you a way to connect with other people in the congregation, and it makes it easy for paying for things and donating and things like that. So On Realm is great, or you can also do an electronic fund transfer. Some people like to do that, and you do that through your pledge, through the pledge cards. Does that? You can choose EFT as an option, right? Is what we
That's sort of a
decided to
two-step
do.
process, right? Like you can
Yeah.
either email.
Lord.
Oh.
Yes.
Or to have your card and then set up.
Yeah, and it's pledge at Holy Cross, right? Okay, the email address for that. And it will be the pledge cards, as you all already know. And we have stuffed all the envelopes, and they're already on their way. I think I saw them right there.
Right, the envelopes are going in the mail tomorrow. They are stuffed and ready to mail.
That's right. And November 19th is the last day of the campaign. And every Sunday, thanks to Yuri's hard work, because wrangling people is not easy, we will have some people talking about why Holy Cross is important to them at both of the services on Sundays, every Sunday of the pledge campaign. And it ends, I think I just said this, November 19th. And that's pretty much it. One important thing to note here is that we base our budget on where we are on November 19th. So even though you can always continue to pledge, and we welcome that, and thank you, but November 19th, that's where we're going to sort of draw the line and say, this is our budget. So it's important to try to pledge during the campaign, if you can.
I truly pledge often.
So that's that. Any questions, comments? All right, great. Thank you very much for your time. All right.
Thanks. And now that folks have had a chance to see these a little more closely,
Yes.
are there any questions that came up?
I'll get out of the way. I'm not going to be the one up there answering.
I guess, is the mortgage in the finance line under the operating expense?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, and does that balloon at some point?
Yeah, in 26, I believe it is. It was refinanced in 21, and there was a 5-year bullet, so that's 26.
And how much is outstanding, do you know?
It's around 750.
For 45.
How long does the Hollybrook, lease go for?
5 years,
5 years, and we're in what, year 2 or something?
year 2.
I'll also share that Scott has been talking about making some improvements downstairs, maybe some new linoleum, maybe some new ceiling tile. Facilities committees had some conversations with him about that, but I interpret from his desire to make those kinds of improvements that we have a 5-year lease, but that he's thinking he'll be around.
Scott's the head of Hollybrook.
Yeah, thank you.
Would that be at their expense or at our expense?
We're trying to figure out how to sort of meet in the middle on that, I think.
So now that inflation is back, do we have any escalation clauses in any of our Do we take that into account for?
Hollybrook has.
Hollybrook has,
That's always been the case. So I noticed, not on this handout, but the difference between our expected pledge amount and our proposed or our projected expenses is about $100,000 difference. And that 100,000 is made up of Hollybrook and plate and.
Yeah, there's some gifts that come in from memorials or special things, weddings, that sort of thing. There's also what we have called abundance pledges, you know, we're gonna raise and people, that they don't amount to a whole lot, a few $1,000s in each one, but it is some extra money. But the big sources are, of course, the pledges, Hollybrook and plate. And plate's been going up every year.
Which has been great, because that I think is a kind of a symptom of us getting more and more new people coming to the Holy Cross, and maybe, you know, they haven't made the jump to pledge, or maybe they don't even know about pledging. And so that's why it would be great to convert a lot of those plate offerings to pledges, because it's just a more secure.
To the extent that people do that by writing checks, we try to identify them and hope to convert them. But there are some people who've just been giving plate for years. They've been membership for years and never pledged. They don't get to the plate offerings, but it's been a pleasant. That's probably, I guess we're almost getting used to it now, but it's every year it's just, it seems to be going up and up and up.
What is our extent for this year, the 42,000 that you mentioned? Is that going that difference, that $100,000 difference between?
No, I think it's in that 285 that we're talking about for facilities.
So that would be set aside.
Right.
Thank you.
I think it's important also for you all to know, this is your treasurer speaking. The $430,000 goal is what we need to operate. It was not in any way,
Added.
that's a good way. Added. It's the bottom line, is what we need.
Right.
We didn't add anything extra, you know, hopeful. It's right on, which is not usually very realistic of us. So.
Well, let me see if I understand. So for next year, we have an expected budget, and our expected revenue is going to fall a little short. Is that correct? Our revenue next year predicted versus our budget, we're going to be a little short next year.
Hopefully not.
No, where did you get that idea?
You mean if you include the cost of the HVAC?
No, I think like Tom's talking about the difference between the amount pledged and the
430 and 545.
And that was
Right.
my question. Where does that $100,000 come from? But it's Hollybrook and plate and.
Some other rental stuff.
Okay.
So I know about predicted.
Yeah.
So the overall revenues versus the budget are expected to be equal.
Correct. I think, yeah, if we get 430, we would be looking at a balanced budget.
The reason I asked that, we had so many years where we never had that.
Oh, that's very true. Oh, that's very true.
Always had.
Yeah, the last 2 years, we've passed balanced budgets at the beginning, like we planned for a balanced budget and actually ended with small surpluses.
So I haven't been here a long time. That's really good.
Yeah.
Well, I know back when I was in industry, 2010, 2011, 2012, we always passed out the budget. Always did. Surplus.
And then we didn't give anything to the guys for 1 year, and people got upset over that. Extremely.
That's certainly not the case now.
Well, that's extremely good news for the people who've been here for a while.
Any
a question on the audit, and this is no comment on the fact of the person doing it internally, but does that pass with the diocese?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Just a question on the balance sheet. So we have unrestricted cash and investments of 358,000. That's going to go on the HVAC. On the liability side of the balance sheet, we've got, I think, like 745,000 mortgage. Is there anything, other assets and liabilities other than the land and buildings that could go into the balance sheet? Oh, no.
Yeah,
That's it.
oh, there are, right? In our balance sheet,
What are you talking about?
don't we have, some of those, like, funds that the requests that have been made in the past?
Oh, you mean designated funds?
Designated funds?
Yeah.
No, that's not
There's an
that.
endowment fund.
But they're not available for daily operation.
No,
How big would those endowments be?
Right, I think the endowment fund is about 55,000.
Thank you.
But those are protected.
Yeah.
yeah.
So. Yeah, the property is, that's valued over 2 million, I believe.
So just to give you some background again, so when we were doing all those deficit budgets, we were putting together the HVAC system with rubber bands, glue, and literally with duct tape. We were making them extend way beyond their times and finding every possible way to cut costs. And now we have enough money to put in a top grade system. And that's a big change. That's a huge improvement.
It's huge.
Not only are we, and it's doing great deal of effort on the part of facilities committee and John. It's not only new equipment and up to date equipment. It's services to take care of those instead of us piecemealing it.
Right, yes.
We're trying to come into the real world real hard.
And it's environmentally responsible, efficient and meant to provide lots of natural fresh air, so it's better for us while we're in there.
Yes.
As well, actually.
It is,
Yeah.
absolutely.
We're not swapping like for like, we're upgrading.
And hopefully more evenly distribute heating and cooling throughout the space and address some of the noise issues with the current system too.
What Kelly really means when she said that is, for the first time ever, we're going to try to do something about air conditioning the chancel.
Actually, more what I'm talking about is like the ladies wearing parkas in July because it's the air conditioning blows so hard in there.
Or just the gust.
Right, when your pages flutter, when the system kicks on.
There was at one point some conversation among the facilities committee about looking for government grants or funding to install solar panels so that we could lower our utility bills. What was the outcome of that exploration?
Well, I would say it's still a work in progress. The grant that we are hoping would apply to our native HVAC has not completely been offered yet. I mean, not open to the individual recipients, which we would be. They're in the process right now of setting up regional recipients, and those regional recipients will administer it to the sub-recipients. So we've tried to make good introduction and with two of the possible prime recipients and so there's lots and lots of grant money out there for all kinds of stuff.
And John, am I correct in remembering that the grantor is the U.S. Department of Energy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we also, this wasn't really a formal grant, but Department of Energy, Dominion Energy has a program that we've already taken part of taken advantage of in part to take a look at all our electrical facilities. And they were out a couple weeks ago and did a complete cleanup of all our heating and electrical system and put up into the ceiling and made sure that the ducts were, I mean, these ducts were on the duct, on the thing, which a lot of them weren't, or several of them weren't, so they reattached that. And there's another piece of that program that includes LED lights. And if we're successful, then Dominion Energy will replace all our fluorescents with LED lights here and downstairs. And, so it'd be a great source of.
Including in the nave?
Yeah. Every place. A lot of that stuff in the nave has already been converted to LED. So in other words, we keep working at it. There's a lot of grant money out there for us. We did get a grant this year, thanks to Ron's encouragement, from the diocese for $5,000 to apply to the HVAC program we had for the downstairs. So it's not a big grant, but it certainly helps. It's a lot of money.
And so I understand that the option that we're choosing will accommodate solar panels if they're, it can be part of the same system.
It's a heat pump system and you're talking about for the nave and the chancel.
Well, for our overall needs, whatever.
Option 4 is primarily heat pump with fresh air and new, input.
Yeah, but that's electrically supplied, so a solar panel system could furnish.
Right.
Or give us credits, energy credits.
Yes, it can. That's a different program. So, there's, like I said, it's trying to find out what all the programs are. It's a big job. So if anybody becomes aware of something that we might qualify for, let me know, please, and I'll offer it on it.
And to add to that, if there's anybody, I'm sure that we have people with lots of grant writing experience in the congregation, and we do live right outside of Washington, D.C. So if you or anybody you know has grant writing experience, you should talk to me, John, Alice.
But the solar panels is intriguing, and I think I'll help you look more into that. Because you're going to be using electricity, period, or whatever we don't have, we'll support.
And I was told at one point early when I got here that the roof over this portion, that's phase 1 portion of the building, is well positioned.
It's extremely well.
For solar.
Extremely well.
Except for the walnuts.
When those walnuts fall on the roof and you're just gonna sit in your office.
Have you ever been at the front door and got hit?
The bush fell over in Rich's office at one point.
Yeah, there are a lot of walnuts.
Honestly, I think that, we're in a really exciting and positive place for Holy Cross. Like we have some good financial position right now. We're asking for a little bit more next year, but with the projects and programs to back up, asking for that number. And then, we also have like really creative ideas going on about how to improve our facility and also be good stewards of God's creation. So, this is sort of my wrap it up, because I know we have to go.
Yeah, there's that needs to happen shortly. If you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to any of these folks here. We would be happy to discuss more. Thank you to the folks who joined us online. Sue and Catherine, thank you. And blessings. We will see many of you in 11 minutes in the other room.
Is there a question up there?
Ooh, Sue, do you have a question? No, okay. Bye, Sue.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody.